Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dominic Zenner. I'm a clinical reader here in Queen Mary. We are two, actually. There's Simon Tibera as well. And we are together leading this course, the postgraduate certificate on tuberculosis. And I hope that's what you dialed in for. And so what we're trying to do is give you a little bit of an intro. We're trying to make it a little interactive. So feel free to basically turn your camera on so we can see each other. And if you want, and feel free to put your comments in the chat. We'll try and pick them up there or raise your hand at any time. I'm just waiting for Simon because I think he is on his way in. Funny thing to say in electronically, but he is on his way in. I had some technical difficulties, so give me a minute or two. Otherwise, I'll make a start. Any questions before I start, by the way?
I just had someone email me to ask if it will be recorded because I have to leave halfway through. So the answer is yes, it will be recorded, and we will make the recording available after the session.
Absolutely. And if there is certain parts that you do not want to have recorded, please let us know. We can edit that. But in principle, we're taking that as a consent that we can all record it, and that's for the benefits of those people that can't make it. Right. Shall we make a start then? Let me see whether I can share the screen here. Okay. I hope you can all see the screen. Becky, you can see the screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, sorry, just looking for confirmation there. And now basically, okay, so just a quick introduction. So we're talking about the postgraduate certificate in tuberculosis, and you've got basically Simon and myself as course leads. And we also have Becky, who you just heard the voice of, as the course administrator. She's really the helpful spine, I would say, that helps to keep it all together. And we've got David, who's our comms manager, also dialing in. So that's just by way of introduction. Right. So who are we? Well, we're embedded in, so this is Queen Mary University of London, as you know, quite a good Russell Group university with a proud teaching record and a proud history as well. One of the first medical schools in the country, I think. Yeah, I mean, the faculty of medicine and dentistry, 400 members of staff, lots of academic faculty, and as you can see, we teach not only medicine but also biomedical sciences. There is bachelor in neuroscience now, and there's lots and lots of postgraduate teaching. I was quite amazed recently to see that we're teaching also on trauma and on all sorts of things. The courses are embedded within clinical practice and research, and obviously, within this particular course, we have quite a good faculty, which is pretty much from everywhere. You probably saw on the internet, lots of people from, I don't know, get people from Italy, from obviously from WHO and from other parts to chip in. But Simon and I are based here in London, and it's based in the Blizzard Institute in Queen Mary. Right, so TB, I don't, probably the fact that you're here means that I don't need to tell you why it's important to learn about TB, but just as a quick rehash, basically each year we've got actually about 10 million, it says 9, but it's actually more than 10 million now, new cases, and about 1.5 million deaths each year, which makes it, I think, the highest in the global burden of disease, the most important disease by any single pathogen, so to speak. So it's one of the And since before COVID, it was the highest burden of any infectious diseases. And then, of course, there's TB infections affecting more than 2 billion people globally, and each one of those could actually potentially result in TB. As you probably also know, unfortunately, because of many reasons, including redistribution of resources and all sorts of things, the situation has slightly worsened after or during and after the COVID pandemic, and we're basically now have to make good on some of the improvements that we already made. So that's, but you know, it's an important, so it's a very important thing. It's also important in terms of drug resistance. As you can see, 1/3 of the 700 antibiotic drug resistant related deaths are from drug resistant TB. And obviously, this is estimate from the UK government. Over the next 35 years, MDR-TB could kill 75 million people and cost the global economy a cumulative $16.7 trillion. Okay, so I don't need to tell you how important TB is, but I take it as a given, but just as a little reiteration. So why would we have a postgraduate certificate in tuberculosis? So overall, and by the way, here's some other stats, is the 13th cause of death in the global burden of disease. As we talked about, antimicrobial resistance threat, and actually quite an interesting, it's probably the oldest known disease and a fascinating field of research and of medicine. The postgraduate certificate attempts to bridge a current gap in education and training, because there are actually quite a lot of short courses out, if you probably know, for example, from WHO or from the Union, but there isn't really a university accredited certificate and a longer, richer course, which we are trying to offer here. So basically, what this is part-time distance learning concept, offering flexibility and allowing for participation around the globe, because obviously TB is it's something important globally. And obviously it's directed towards doctors, nurses, public health workers, you know, acknowledging the crucial importance of interdisciplinary management. And we have, I think, quite a faculty to be proud of. I think I said that before. Okay, so how does it work? It's a 1-year degree, so there's 2 semesters, and it's got 60 credits. Okay, so each one of those, so it's 4 modules, each one counts for 15 credits. There is no dissertation in the end, so basically that's what it says. So it's basically 1/3 of the credits of an MSc. We have obviously some entry requirements, which I take it probably all of you, most of you have fulfilled. That's why you're here, and they're listed here. And so the 4 modules, which are basically 6 weeks each, there are an introduction to tuberculosis, then the risk factors and the risk groups, then MDR, TB, and then public health and tuberculosis. And these are sort of the main. That's the main structure there. We have in Queen Mary a reasonably very good learning environment. We call it Queen Mary Plus or QM Plus, and it's basically a platform where we can actually upload, and there is a lot of the lectures are already there, and then they are getting continuously updated. And the platform can, you know, we can interact through the platform, so there can be we can have fora. You've got access to our libraries through the platform as well, and so that's basically our vehicle to communicate and all that kind of stuff. And of course we can set the assignments on the platform as well, which we do. So there is we estimate about 18 to 20 hours per module, so 3 to 6 hours per week. In terms of lectures, there's online tutorials, which are roughly 10 to 12 per module, and they're once weekly. And of course, there is a lot of literature and a lot of resources there as well. So this is just an example of what that looks like. So basically, you can see here the introduction, the history of TB, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, a little bit on that, and then the epi. And you can see some names which you might recognize there, including the former head of the TB program, WHO, Mario, who also teaches here, and that's how the program goes. So that was basically the first week, and then the second week, and the third week listed there as an example what it might look like. Yeah, mentorship. Obviously, we have a mentorship program, and we're married. You're assigned a dedicated personal tutor that can support you on academic and, if it's necessary, pastoral level. Some students need it more than others, they are a bit like the link between the program director and the academic coordinator. Assessments are always important to start from the beginning to talk about those. So each module has an assessment. Module 4, I believe, has got 3 that are summarized together, and each of the others only has one assignment. And basically, a lot of that is tests, so MCQs, but the public health module is a bit more practical and actually doing exercises. And that's about the assessments. And I think that's all we wanted to say in terms of the initial introduction to it, because basically there is hopefully quite a lot of questions there. And I'm just wondering, I'm looking around whether actually Simon is there, right? Simon, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hello, Dominic. Hello,
hi, I'm sorry, I was just doing your presentation. So
no, it's our presentation. You're doing a very good job. Hi.
Great. So Simon Tiberi is the other program lead in the program, and yeah, so we're here basically to answer any questions.
Hi. I joined a bit late, but I just wanted to ask, we've got a new TB nurse that's just started about 6 months ago. She's got a degree, and I think a degree in public health, if Anita wants to jump in. But so you said there that you need 2 years of TB knowledge before going on this course. Is that correct?
Yes, so as far as I know, so for nurses, it is 2 years of TB or 5 years in total or something like that. But what we could do, I mean, experiences are slightly complicated these days, isn't it? And so, people might have had experiences in their own country and what have you. And so we're quite happy to look at applications as we go along. In fact, we have, and take a decision based on that. Simon, did you want to jump in there?
No, I agree with Dominic. It could be a case-by-case basis that we have a look in and we assess with curriculum to really assess it. The idea behind the 2 years was to ensure enough foundation knowledge around the subject, so that potentially the student doesn't struggle with too much information. So 6 months is starting to be something, but there's obviously there's been already a change, a recent change, and so 6 months may be too soon. But okay, in that grey area of 1 to 2 years, then we're open to discuss. Definitely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Fiona.
Sorry, struggling with your unmute there. I apologise. Cost for the degree, just because obviously this will be something I need to take to my manager.
Costs. So the costs are a flat fee of 3,000, and that includes, I think, everything as advertised. And two things. One is, I know that's maybe not of help to you, but we actually have a flat fee for home students and overseas students, which is unusual, and we'd like to keep it that way because we would like to enable, overseas students as well to partake in the course. And the second thing is we have not, unlike actually virtually any other course I know, lifted or uplifted this year, so we kept it the same.
Hello.
Hi.
Sorry, I don't know where my hand up button is on Zoom. I'm so used to Teams. Just going back to the conversation around experience. So obviously that the sort of architecture looks very different. We have ICBs, and I lead a team of infection control nurses within an ICB, which kind of interfaces with Public Health England, UXA, acute settings, but also local authority public health. We wouldn't be actually patient facing, but dealing with sort of complex elements and some of the public health elements of TB. So I'm just wondering if there's still appropriateness with that course.
I don't know how it is for other people, but I got lost you halfway through. So I don't know, Simon, did you get the entire question?
Yes. So the course would still be appropriate. It may just be too much in depth for that particular line of work, which requires very, very deep knowledge, but for just the infection control area. So there's a lot of knowledge around TB, around the therapy of TB diagnostics, clinical management, the public health globally. Infection control is quite a small part, a very important part of the course, and so we're not against it. It's just maybe the nurses may find that a lot of the information could potentially be superfluous, potentially. So, but we'd be happy.
Okay,
it obviously depends on. There's 4 modules to the course, as my colleague was previously stating. So there's infection control aspects to a lot of what we teach, but it is an infection control course.
No, so I suppose infection control in an integrated care system is not necessarily looking after patients in the side room. It's that kind of, it's more public health, more sort of complex, and particularly with some of our asylum populations. So it's not purely the infection control element, it's that sort of disease element that I think is probably relevant in our activities.
So that's perfect, because we talk about the disease, the pathophysiology, and the management, and a lot of the difficulties and challenges around controlling TB, both in patients but also in programs.
Yeah.
So they would find it pertinent to the work they're doing. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Linda. Linda, you raised your hand?
Yeah, sorry. I'm just interested to find out if the course is a good course for somebody who's been in TB for a long time. So I've been nursing in TB, for over 10 years. And obviously it's my passion and interest, just to sort of wonder if it's something that would necessarily be good for me to do.
So absolutely.
I would say that. So I was, so I've been working in TB since, oh dear, Tammy is, I think, on the phone. She can probably testify. I think 15, 20 years or something like that. I mean, for a very long time. And I've been leading the course and therefore enjoying all the materials and everything else for the first time last year. And I was in awe of what things, I mean, there are updates, of course, important updates, especially more recently with the new regiments and all that kind of stuff. And two, you know, just getting a comprehensive overview of and really divulging and really studying when basically in the clinical day-to-day, we're sometimes just making decisions we've been making in the right and good way, but sometimes it's good to get, you know, to have the time or the reserved space to indulge is the right word in information.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And the other thing I wanted to ask, sorry, is there any chance that it could be, if you couldn't do it in a year, do you have any plans to sort of lengthen it out, or is it definitely a year and you definitely need that time to be online doing those, you know, those modules? Or is it something that the modules will be there and then you could dip in over more years, or you don't think that because of the
that's a good question. That's an organizational question, Simon. We had people interrupting, I know.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's possible. It's possible to do modules and then go back to it a year after. That's not impossible. We can accommodate that.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Thanks. I think I saw Tommy a minute ago raising her hand.
Yes, she was online.
Tommy, can you hear us?
Oh, hi everyone. No, Dominic, I didn't mean to raise my hand. I wanted to do a thumbs up about you know, with TB, no matter how many decades you're in it, there's always something new to learn.
Yes, and good to hear your voice. How are you doing? You're doing all right.
Yes, thank you very much, Dominic. Good to see you on screen. And hello, Simon. And I recognize a lot of names on the screen. I have Tracy Langham here too. So it's good to see that, you know, as many people as we have today join in to find out more.
Thanks, Tommy. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Any other questions, anyone?
How do we go about getting onto the course? Do we just go to St Mary's? Was it St Mary's?
So your
Queen Mary
website.
We can send a link out to everyone who's joined this meeting. I know some of you have already applied. I can check for those who haven't applied and send you out a link after the meeting.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And on the website, basically, there's a button for application, and it talks you through. Quite straightforward, I think. Well, I would think that, wouldn't I? But
And the next course is starting when?
Every year. So we start this autumn, usually in the third week of September, I believe, isn't it? That we start, and then so that's for 23/4, and then obviously in September 24 for 4/5, and so on.
Okay. Thank you.
So typically the lectures start in October, but you're enrolled in September, and the course rolls out till March in terms of teaching, and then there's some assessments in April. So it's roughly between the end of September and April. So it's over 6 months. You're welcome.
So for sharing links, actually, the chat would have been ideal. I don't know what happened to it. It's just vanished. Any other questions, guys? So what else can we say? One thing I didn't mention is that we are trying our best to accommodate different working patterns, and the nature of this course is designed to be a part-time course. And so what we're trying to do is have it at a time of day when you can make it. So it's very often in the afternoon here in the UK. Last time we had the interesting problem that we had people from Asia and Australia dialing in as well. And so we had to be a bit flexible, and sometimes I remember once there was we wanted to accommodate the Australian, and then we had a Mexican speaker, and so that was a bit difficult because it meant that the Mexican speaker was dialing in 4 o'clock in the morning. Never mind, but we try our best to accommodate.
And they did dial in at 4 in the morning, so that's interesting.
Yeah, shows dedication.
Yeah. So it's flexible. It's meant for people who are working full time. So it's possible to do as a full-time worker. So I think that's one of the advantages of the course, being flexible for that. So you'll be looking at those lectures in your own time, and there is sufficient flexibility in the course. If you can't make the weekly question and answer session with us, it's recorded, and so you can go back to the recordings as well. Obviously, it'd be great to have you there, but if you miss it, then it's not the end of the world.
Otolhag. Sorry, I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Yes, you pronounced very correctly. Yeah, thank you. My question refers to the language requirements. I'm settled in the UK. I work with North Central London TV services, and my manager, he passed this information to me that if I'm interested to apply for. By training, I'm a medical doctor. I work in TB. Yeah, I have been working in tuberculosis for almost 25 years now. But the one thing that the requirements is that I work in the UK for now is 3 years only with the North of the TB services. So, but I haven't passed any language test. Whether is must that I should have a score. If my organization provide a letter and they certify the level of my language, would that work, or is the score is must?
Yeah, so there are formal. Sorry, Simon, did you want to go?
Yeah, I'm a working medical doctor, not trained here, not born here. I'm citizen from Afghanistan.
Yes, and you seem to be certainly quite well in command of the English, which is great. So there are formal requirements that the university has, and then there are case-by-case decisions. And so what I would suspect is that what I would say is you can apply the normal route with the proviso to say that basically you've talked to us and all the rest of it. What they probably will they will come back to us and ask us for an assessment of the paperwork, and then we can take a case-by-case decision. The main thing, so this is basically the formal, I can't remember, Simon, is it IELTS 6.5 or something like that? One of those.
Yes.
Which is
Indeed.
a university-wide requirement. It's nothing we can, but we can override those. Well, not override, but we can argue against those, and then it will be taken as an individual case decision. The more important question is the ability to follow all the materials, and if you feel you're confident in doing that, then I think that's fine, and we're here to hopefully enable that. Simon, did you want to add? Sorry.
Yes, I got the answer. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's enough. For me. Yeah, so I understand that the case it will be. The applications will be reviewed on individual basis. Okay.
Yes, because the university kind of imposes this as a standard throughout. So it's very common, and it has to be. So the entry requirements with the language is just a standard throughout the UK. However, in certain occasions we can ask for a waiver, but there's no guarantee that we can obtain it, but we can definitely discuss it, definitely.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great. Any other questions? I think that whilst we're waiting for questions, Becky will share our details. I think they should also be on the website as far as I know. So do feel free to write to Becky, Simon, or myself, or all three of us, if you have any other questions, or you know, I'll post them now. But especially if they're more individual questions, then we'll try and answer them as well. So we're quite happy to look into that.
So Becky, if you can, well, Becky will email you with the link, and in that email there will be the email address for contacts. We're responsive, so you'll get a reply fairly quickly from us.
Great. Well, unless there are other questions or other comments, I don't know, Simon, whether you had other comments to add. Oh, here we go.
Super. So we
That's
can
great.
take a screenshot of that. So that's our email, pgtuberculosis@qmur.ac.uk, and then Rebecca Chappell, who's our course administrator. That's her email. So if you have any queries, please email. We'll get back to you.
Right. So if there are no other questions, then or comments, I would propose that we end the meeting now, and then we'll see you or hear from you. And thank you very much for dialing in. And that's great. Good to see you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.